Hello, welcome to another episode of the Full of Ourselves podcast. We're so excited to be talking about something really, really easy, such a gentle subject.
Yeah.
Not. This week, we're going to be talking about money. Whew, yes,
Oh,
nice big topic.
love it. I've got cabaret in my head. Money makes the world go round. Well, it's a musical theme. It's apt. It's in the air, isn't it? It's in the air right now.
It is in the air, it is. And
Yeah.
there are so many different things and facets around our views of money, how we feel about money. Are we open to receive money? How do we feel? Like, there's so much we want to talk a little bit about here. And just, I guess what we want you to do is to listen with an open mind and an open heart and just think about this for you and for yourself. How does this resonate with you? What issues come up for you as we're talking?
Mm.
Because we definitely want this to be something that has real relevance and really helps you. If you find you've got any money blocks, or if there's something going on around money, now is a good time to work through that, I think.
Absolutely. Well said. And I think it is really important to have that curiosity as Anna is inviting you to do so because, yeah, it isn't an easy topic, is it, to talk about? They say don't talk about what money, sex, power, religion. I know it's boring. It doesn't leave much left to talk about, does it? I say let's put it on the table. And I think especially for us as women, as we step into our businesses, we step into being an entrepreneur, let's be totally honest. Part of the reason we're doing that, apart from the fact, obviously, we're passionate, we love what we're doing, we know it's a good service to offer out into the world, is we probably want to make money and good money doing it. And why the hell not? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And we really do want to go from that perspective, in that, we're both coaches in business. We have different, different programs and different things going on. And you're right, what we want to do is bring value to people in the
Mm,
world. That's really important to us, and that's a value for us. But I think for me, one of the things that I love, this kind of historical context,
mm,
is that we are one of the first generations, not necessarily the first, but one of the first generations that has had this ability to make our own money, to keep our own money, to buy our own houses, and not need a man's signature. And it's not been that long, only a few decades, that this has been the case. And if I think about my grandmother, born in the early 1900s, she had to go to work at age 14. She had a brother who was the one where they would pay for his education. Even though my grandmother was probably the one who really was the one who was better able to be the academic or whatever, but
mm,
just wasn't the case. So when I think about kind of the differences in the generations, I do feel like I want to um I want to kind of step into that, to step into that ability to kind of make my own money, to have my own business, to have my own impact in the world. I think it's really important for me.
No, I hear you. Thank you for that. What a great story. It's making me think as well about, again, it wasn't that long ago. And it is great to have brought that up because if you're of a certain age, we're of a certain age, that was all just starting to shift and change and be quite radical when we were children. We were obviously very unaware of that very adult world going on.
Yeah.
But like you said, this was in our kind of lifetime that this change started to happen. And I think we still have a long way to go. Obviously, we still have the pay gap disparities going on between genders. It's an ongoing conversation, ongoing kind of roll of the eyeballs. It's also making me think about how many women would work until they got married, and then it was just expected of you that you would start working because your husband then will take care of you. It was like that's it. You're just almost like passing the time until you were hitched and bagged yourself a fella, and then there you go. You could spend your days doing needlework and floristry and all such other beautiful activities that have made such a comeback actually these days as well, which actually makes me think, there's also this question, isn't there? And I think it's a kind of tongue in cheek question, but there's a kind of truth to it of, can we have it all? Especially as women, can we have the business? Can we have the family? Can we have perhaps children if that's something you desire? And then can we have the money and the lifestyle and the luxury and the freedom and the security or whatever it is? And we're going to kind of investigate this a little bit further in our conversation. So what do you think, Hannah? Can we have it all, do you think?
Oh, just
Oof.
ask the small questions today,
No,
Heidi.
it does,
Um,
isn't it? We're full of
can we
ourselves. We
have it
need to
all?
kind of
I think
ask these things.
I think it's around it's around focus around what we want to have.
Mm,
I personally feel like I'm not a parent myself, so I feel unable to kind of make a kind of decision or a judgment around that kind of thing. But I do know that there are parents out there. I do certainly feel like in my world, the people that I know, the men around me are stepping up a lot more than I had seen perhaps in my mum and dad's generation, to be more equal in terms of child rearing and doing the work in the household and all of that kind of stuff. So I think we can have what we want. I think
mm,
another thing that I think is important to remember is there's there's so much around the kind of like give everything up and just go for one thing, just do the business, just do it 24/7 and just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and burn out and get back on the horse. And it's just like keep going, keep going, keep going. And I feel like I don't think that's the only way. I
mm.
don't believe that's the only way to have a successful business.
No.
Maybe it's the way to have £1 million, £1 billion business to sell. Maybe, maybe not. But I think that we can get stuck in this feeling that that is the only way. And if I don't do that, then I'm kind of letting myself down. I'm not doing enough.
Oh, the
And I
hustle.
think we need to get rid of that dangerous myth.
Yeah, absolutely. The hustle, isn't it? You've got to work hard, because if you don't, you're going to fail. And I think it's a very woman kind of belief and story that's kind of passed down as well, isn't it? And also kind of part of that is like, I kind of, got to do it all myself, especially if we are so kind of single-minded and focused on wanting to make our business a success. Um, I think it's a good point right now to kind of just to ease back a little bit and just talk a little bit about money. I run a money program, which is very much looking at the energetics of. I think you need both, actually, and actually there are a lot more people nowadays, a lot more kind of money experts or coaches that run incredibly successful businesses that are bringing in both aspects. I think this is a big part of what shifted in the day and age that we're living in. It's not just about having a strategy. Okay. And I think that's a very, I don't know, very much more of a kind of masculine framework. And we're using these terms kind of feminine, masculine, men, woman in a kind of very kind of broad sense here. So yeah, that's really important to know how to market, how to do selling, how to advertise, promote, branding, all of these kind of various factors. But there's also the energetic side to plug into around money. And money at the end of the day it's a currency. It happens to be the main currency of the world that we live in today. Back in the day, it was probably potatoes or goats or your youngest daughter, probably, or something like that. Yeah. These days, we use this thing called money. So it's a currency. What does currency do? It moves and it flows, comes and it goes. But we don't necessarily trust that one, and we kind of hold on and grip tight and kind of want to store all our pennies or pounds underneath our mattresses and so on. But actually, if we can lighten up a little bit around money, I think that's actually a really helpful place to begin as well, just to kind of just soften a little bit around that, because I think it can be very easy, again, depending on what our stories are around that, which we'll touch upon shortly, to be quite grasping around that. And then things become, like you said before, quite hard work. We feel like we can never stop. We have to keep doing the hamster wheel just in case. And there's quite an insidious aspect to that, I think. Um, and it's interesting when you said about
Yeah,
value as
I
well,
definitely.
because value, sorry, I was going to say our value and the value of what we offer. We think about the word value, like we go and buy something, oh, that's good value. It's we connect that with in monetary terms as well, don't we? For what we have to offer, what we're putting out there, what our business is worth, what we're worth. Kind of it comes down to this kind of everything kind of fits. There's so much that fits into this whole umbrella, this word, this charged word, money. Mm.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it can feel like a kind of a win or lose situation. It's like either I have money or I don't have money. And what actually you're talking about the energetics of money is that actually it's much more flowing than that. It's
Yeah,
I have money and then I can spend it and then I can kind of get it back and I can invest money and I can, and it just I think I think it's a lot less like I have it or I don't have it. It's much more of this kind of flow, I feel.
yeah. And it's and we want to ask you, if you're listening to this, that what is money? What does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? Because it's such a huge topic, and there's so many places we can go in this conversation around this. But just even to start from that place, like, what does it mean to you? What do you feel like it's going? Why do you want it? What's it going to give you having money? Is it something that feels quite abstract to you? You just think, well, that's what you meant to do. It will equal success, or is there something that you particularly want by having money? This is important. Hmm. Yeah, and maybe money does mean
I
I
think
don't know.
that's such a great question.
Like maybe it's about security. Like money, for me,
It,
I've always had this thing around. Yes, I want money and I want my business to do well. I want all my ventures and projects to do well. And I want to bring a lot of money in. But for me, it's always been attached to what's underneath that is freedom. The freedom to work the hours that I want to work, the freedom to go off, travel and go to beautiful places, the freedom to be able to buy nice things that I want to buy, freedom to be able to treat my family and my friends and, be able to look after those people that are around me if I need to or if I choose to, if I just want to be able to do that and know that I'm able to do that. What does money mean to you?
yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I think there's a lot around that feeling of partly security of being able
Mm,
to feel like, okay, I'm fine. I can look after myself and the money is there for me to do those things, but also to, like you say, to treat others, to be able to travel, to be able to do some of those things that maybe I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do if I didn't have the security of having money. Um, some of the research suggests that there's a few different reasons why people would want money. One of them is security, which I think we
mm,
both can feel a little bit around.
mm,
One of them is around power and
mm,
influence, which I'm not sure is particularly what we would be affecting for us. And another one is around recognition, about being able to afford that handbag or that big house or that particular
status.
car. There's a recognition side around that. So I think it's one of those things that's really worth kind of just considering for yourself as you're
Mm,
listening. Like, it may not just be one of those things. There may be like a kind of a mix of things that it means for you. But is there something specific that you feel like, oh, if I just had X, because usually there's a number in your head, if I
mm,
just had this amount of money per month or this amount of money in the bank, or you know, what what is the benefit? Why for you is that so important? And I think having an understanding of ourselves, it's not about judging ourselves or anything like that. It's about just having a little bit of understanding of where is that coming from,
mm,
because the research shows that our feelings about money are actually cemented by the age of 7, and we're getting these messages probably from, all the people around us, particularly our parents or caregivers or whoever that might be, and just thinking about, like, what kinds of messages were you hearing? Did you hear, well, money doesn't grow on trees, no, we
Oh
can't
God.
afford to do this?
Mm.
Or, was it that the money was available, we'll find a way? What were those messages that you were hearing, and how have you internalized that, really, I guess? How is that affecting you now?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for saying that. I mean, I think this is one of the biggest things because we can go, yeah, I'm going to make this amount of money. Yeah, this is no problem. Set everything up, off we go. And then we can be a bit like, well, I don't understand. I'm doing everything right. So what's happening? Why am I not earning and bringing in this amount of money that I don't see why that shouldn't be happening? And like you've correctly said, so much goes on around what we've internalized and what's been kind of set as almost like, I suppose, like an upper limit placed in us. And a big part of that will be going on subconsciously is because that will feel safe. That's what we've known. That's familiar. So there's some part of us that goes, okay, that's our safe zone. So we'll just carry on living in that safe zone, even if we're frustrated and we're wondering why we're asking these questions and we're starting to having doubts and so on and so on. And the thing as well of like kind of growing up with those stories, if we didn't have a lot of money, if there was a lot of scrimping and saving, and you were made very aware of that, kind of like we can't afford to do this, you need to be grateful, we're doing that. Even, kind of all of this that you're very lucky to be able to do this. Maybe even seeing like what other people have had around you when you were growing up, and perhaps feeling a bit jealous about that when maybe kind of your friends or other people in your class, on your street, whatever, were having these fancier experiences and you didn't have that. There we will probably be have grown up with what's known as a scarcity mentality, feeling a sense of lack because that's
Mhm.
been kind of what we've been living in, and there's been a familiar thing. And again, we might not realize that. We might be like, okay, I'm successful, I've been successful in my life, I've got a good life, I've got a good, all these things that society says, tick, tick, tick. That's kind of all in place. But maybe we are fearing more about, okay, what if I lose this, or I can't spend any money when it comes in, like, what we we're saying before about currency flow, letting things move, investing in our own self and our own growth and things we might need to learn, or coaches and so on to help us to get to that next level, will all feel very, very scary things to do because we just think to ourselves, well, if I spend that, I'm going to have nothing again. And there we go back into that lack place. And actually, it's interesting when we think of the word, and it's a kind of as a practice. And this is a really good thing to do if you're recognizing this is something like, yeah, actually, I think I do have that lack mentality or that scarcity mentality. The first thing I would say is just notice if there's any shame around that, because I think for a lot of us, when we carry these stories, and it's so common, there is shame that becomes attached to that. And we try and kind of deny it or negate it or push it away. So first of all, it's kind of going, okay, this is completely normal. And if it's really ingrained in me, as Anna, you've just said, around like by the age of 7, those patterns are quite fixed, which is bonkers, really, when you think about it. So first of all, it's fairly normal. So just drop the shame. That's not going to help. And the second thing is we kind of think about what's the opposite of this lack place. It's a sense of kind of being full. And this is where appreciation comes in. People call it gratitude. Now, I do an appreciation practice every day. I do it before I go to sleep and just think about things from my day, maybe conversations, maybe meal that I had, maybe something that happened kind of work wise or opportunities. And I really let myself feel that. And it really works. It makes me feel full. Okay. And also, it's interesting when you think about the word appreciate, because we use that, don't we, for investments or money we've got in the bank. We watch our money appreciate as in it grows. So there is that saying, isn't it? What you appreciate appreciates. So it might seem a bit, oh God, is that some kind of new agey bullshit? It's not in the slightest. Where you're focusing is what's going to grow. You're going to get more of that. It's just kind of the way that life is. So start to appreciate already what you have. I think that's a good place to start.
I love that. I think it's really important. And I know I've started to, when I see money coming in my bank, when I see people buying things or,
Yes.
I've started to go to actually make a point of just pausing slightly and just saying thank you. I'm really grateful. Thank you, thank you. And also when you're spending as well, you can kind of be like, I'm grateful to I have this money to spend. And I think it does come back to that, like you just said, around what we focus on is what's
Yeah,
important. So if we focus on lack, we grow lack. And if we can focus on gratitude for what we have, we can grow more of that as well. And I think it's important to just say that, it can feel a bit like, well, I've just uh, I'm over 7 years old now, and so whatever I feel about money, that's it, that's done. And that's not the case at all. I think what we need to do is have a real empathy and understanding for ourselves, because our young selves, we're the ones that were hearing all these messages and taking them in and really internalizing them. But we know that there's a lot that we can do to change that, and it can take time because we have to kind of do it purposefully. It's something that we need to kind of do, and one of the ways of doing it is around gratitude and focusing on the positive and on what we have. And it
yeah,
sounds so simple, but it's just sometimes those simple little things where we're focusing on the right thing over time is what's going to make a massive difference. And I think we all know those people, and then maybe not just around money, but those people who are just complain. It's always the focus is on the negative. It's always on, I'm not getting what I deserve, and
yeah.
all of
Not
that.
there
And yeah,
yet.
we can all have a little bit of that. We
Yeah.
can all
There's
have a little bit of that, and that's natural. But I think if we can focus on, like, what how are things growing, how, where is the money coming from, how are things different from a year ago, if we can focus on the progress that we are making, even if we're not necessarily exactly where we want to be right now, we are on that path. I think that's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, it's that reminder as well that things take time. I'm actually just writing something about the myth of the overnight success, because it doesn't happen. The overnight success has got years and years and many failures and many kind of tricky situations and possibly many years of living kind of right on the edge of our bank account and taking those risks and investing and things working out and things going completely wrong. And until one day something happens, the wind changes direction, right place, right time. Who knows? Because if we knew the answer to that, we'd be going right probably to that place. And then suddenly, bingo, there you go. And what I always think about that is there's something about trusting that that's really important because I don't know, I was thinking about this. If we woke up tomorrow, say you start your business, maybe you've just started your business, and then next week you're suddenly like a millionaire. Okay, right. Let's just get me very clear. That would be great. I'm not saying that wouldn't. Okay, that would be really lovely, wouldn't it? However, it probably wouldn't be very sustainable. There's something about the grit and the graft and the trusting and the tears and the frustration and the want to throw it all out the window and the trying again and those small moments of appreciating sometimes just those little things. They build something of substance in us and for our business. It's like our business has a sense of wisdom at that point when it tips over into that kind of success in wealth that it wouldn't have had if it hadn't had the years of being tempered by life, by challenges. It creates I would say a resilience, a sustenance, because we want that success to keep going. We don't want to be, like you said before, having to go, shit, I've got to keep doing this. We want it to feel like it's got something that's got real roots to it that can keep growing and we can enjoy it at the same time. So take heart if you're like, well, fucking hell, I've been on this for a few months, a few years, 5 years, maybe even coming up to 10 years, still love what you do. Not why is all that money not coming in? Okay, there might be things you need to go and like look at and explore a bit more, but keep going. Know you're building something So this is something that I think is good to touch on. We're chatting a little bit about this. You're building something maybe that's got wealth to it. We think about money and wealth, or you want to be wealthy. What does wealth mean to you? Because that might not necessarily mean like lots of zeros in your account. That might be part of it, but what does wealth mean to you when it comes to your business? It's a really beautiful way to look at it, I think.
So true. I mean, I remember when I was a full-time teacher and I was just completely exhausted and totally out of it. And I remember particularly a time when I was thinking to myself, gosh, what a love is to just be able to work part-time and have that freedom to work the hours that I want to work, and then be able to go to an exercise class in the morning and be able to do all of those things. And fast forward to now, I have that. I have that life where I'm able to kind of choose my hours, work still work, that's fine, but work my own hours. I don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time, usually, sometimes, but mostly of my day-to-day job I don't need that. I can kind of work out what I want to do. I was thinking about this one Monday morning. My husband and I went for a walk together because we both work part-time, and I was like, this is life, this is what I
Yeah.
was wanting. And that's my own view. That's what was important for me, about having that balance and having that choice, I think, was what it was for me. And not having a stressful job teaching 16 to 18-year-olds, but that's a different matter.
Oh,
But
God.
it was around those. Oh no, I loved them, and also not glad I'm not doing that anymore. um, but I think it's around like the money and the income and what I can do has given me that freedom, and for me that's really important. That's the important thing. And I think what's happens a lot is that people are working, and they're living for their 2 weeks in the sun, or they're living for the weekend or whatever that might be.
Retirement.
But actually, I
Yeah.
think for a lot of us who are, who are kind of crafting our own life and our own business, it's more about I'm enjoying what I'm doing every single day, and I have the choices, and I can do all of that. And that's the wealth for me.
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
wealth means for me. And I appreciate you reminding me of that. Thank you so much.
Well, it's a reminder to myself as well, because, you get mired in the business stuff and it's easy to forget. And I think we do need the reminding over and over again. There is another aspect as well and we will look at, this kind of this sense of like, well, how do we go about maybe bringing money in, kind of more practical things. We are going to talk about the kind of the selling aspect around money in your business in another episode. So do listen out for that. But something else I think is really important while we're just looking at this as a more general thing, especially again as women, letting ourselves say that we want money, that we want a lot of money, that we want to make shit loads of money, that we want those zeros in our account without apology, without needing to justify, which is such a fucking thing that so many of us as women do, justifying the reason why we want that. So yes, we might have a bigger sense. I think it's good to know, like we've touched upon, what does money mean to us? What would wealth mean to us? Why do we want it? That's good for us to know. I think that's really important. But we don't need to fucking apologize. I'm getting sweary with this because it makes me really like it's such a thing for us as women for desiring that. And I think that's something still that there's a little bit of this squish down of like, am I allowed? Am I allowed to say this is how much I want? Am I allowed to have that in my bank account? What will people say about that? What will they think of me? And maybe that's your family still that you're thinking, oh my God, if I make that, then how's that going to change the dynamics? Because that's all going to happen. If I'm with a certain circle of friends, maybe the people that I hang around with have a certain income level. This is also going to impact possibly our willingness and permission to be able to go, love you all, appreciate you all, and I'm aiming bigger. Maybe we have to go and hang out at a yacht club, darling, and drink champagne out of crystal glasses. We have to get on board with having these open conversations about money as women, talking about it with other women, having those uncomfortable dialogues and be honest around that. And one more thing I want to say on that is let ourselves enjoy it. Let ourselves be turned on by money, the idea of money. Let it be a pleasure, because if we think about it, the things we want money for really are pleasures. Apart from once we've got the basics covered, they're pleasures, they're luxuries, they're things that are going to add on to the thrill of our life. So getting comfy with, I would say, getting turned on by the idea of having more money also feels important. And how is that to hear that, like, shit, be turned on by money? Like, what the hell? Do you remember that film? What was it called? The one with Robert Redford? And he proposed $1 million to Woody Harrelson if he could sleep with Demi Moore
Oh
for
yeah,
the
the
night.
indecent proposal.
The indecent
Mm,
proposal one. That nowadays is like, 1 million?
yeah.
Nah, can't get anything for that. Make it 10, mate. And we'll talk. Be turned on by money.
I think that's definitely an interesting one. And it made me think about, um, I've seen that it's not everything, but I've seen a couple of places where there are kind of awards for women, and but they're particular and women in business, but they're particularly around women in business who have impacts or that they do work for charity. And again, I'm not going to say that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that you do not hear that narrative around men so much. And it's
Oh.
almost like, do you know what I mean? There's like this idea of like, well, if you're a woman, then you need to be caring and you need to be this and you need to be that. And we were talking about the dynasty, the Dallas, the 80s shoulder pads, that you have to be the bitch to be to be making money. And I'm not suggesting that either, but I think in some ways it's putting out this message like, oh, well, women, we need to be the carers and we need to be this and we need to be that. And, that's what we're going to prize above
Mm.
all else, above being just a great business person. And yeah, I just feel like that those narratives, so people don't go around saying, oh, that guy from university, when he left university, he was just very determined and he's worked really hard and he's made loads of money. I think if you have that for a woman, a lot of people kind of have some kind of judgment around that, of like, oh, they've, that's what they've focused
Yeah.
on, but they don't necessarily have that kind of level, that layer of judgment around what that means. I think it's just still, I feel like we're in this generation that's kind of in between. Well,
Yeah.
and I suppose every generation is in between, but I think for women that we're in that place where it's kind of like we can unapologetically want our own business. We have the ability to have our own business. The internet exists and it didn't when we were young, even when we were in our 20s. um, it's, and particularly in the way that it is right now, social media certainly didn't exist at that stage. So, things have moved and changed very quickly, and it's like we need to kind of show up in a different kind of way, and we need to say to women, it is okay. We can want to do what we do best in the world, and we can want to be paid well for that, and we
Yeah.
do not need to apologize for that. Let's
Oh
just
my
put it out
God.
there now.
100%. And it connects with, sexuality, your own pleasure in that way as well. The same things of like, actually, I don't have to apologize or justify my sexuality, my sexual appetites, my desires. This is the age we're living in. I can go out and have what I would like. Thank you very much. But again, there's still judgment there, isn't there? You go out and have loads of partners and enjoy yourself as a woman, you get called a slut. A man is a stud. There's still that stereotypes that are very, very ingrained. And they're both these currencies that are very, very strong in the society and the narrative that that we're living in as well. And then it becomes what you touched upon earlier as well around power, of how do we hold that amount of money and have that amount of power and be a little bit like a dom. I've got this like dominatrix thing now with our money, and enjoy that and control it and use it as we want to, and have those high flying things that we might want to do that with, alongside the caring stuff, if we want to. And if we don't, that's our choice. And how do we do that with still staying connected to heart? You know, power for me is connected to heart. It's power with, it's being able to, still be on that level rather than power over or power under. And, we just have to look out at society. It's that's going on. But there's another aspect to this as well, which is, and I've seen this and I've heard this talk about, you make loads of money and then suddenly you lose it all very quickly. So I think for us as women, it's also about, I think we seem to have this more than men, which is an interesting thing. Maybe I'd quite like to go and explore this a bit more. The capacity, we can call it our kind of nervous system or regulation, our capacity to bear X amount of money and what that will bring with it, the responsibility around having that in our accounts as well. So I think there's work to be done, which some people are starting to do, around how do we expand that capacity, which connects also with receiving it, letting it in, which then goes all the way to, can we ask for it, whether it's asking life, whether it's asking, someone to come and fund, or for grants, or give me money to do this, give me a load of money to do this, please, I believe in this. That's a whole bloody thing, isn't it? Again, as women, asking and receiving. We both know this one as well. We've been
Mm,
talking about
yeah.
this.
We have. And definitely, I feel like we'll get into that when we're talking a little bit more about selling as well, because I feel like that's such a massive thing of being able to actually stand in our worth and say, this is what I can give to you, and this is what you can give to me in return. And it can be a difficult thing for us to do, and just stand there in that. I think this is why this podcast is called Full of Ourselves, because we wanted to remember for ourselves, but also for all of the listeners, that what we want to be is full of who we are and of ourselves, and unapologetically, in all of the different ways that means. And that it does include around our worth and our relationship with money and all of that. It's all part and parcel.
Mm. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I'd forgotten. So it's good to be reminded to be full of myself in that way that we spoke about right at the very beginning, as in ownership of who we are, simply as, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. And that's it. Full stop, basically, isn't it? Yeah. So I was wondering about
Yeah,
like,
that's right. I think. Mm.
yeah, I was just wondering about like what we can offer to you if you're listening here. We hope that this has been an interesting and informative and, reflective conversation. We've certainly just touched upon lots of different areas. There's so much. It is, as I say, it's a massive topic, but we really wanted to open up this conversation. We'd love to know your thoughts as well around this. What your relationship is with money, what you feel about it. Does it turn you on? Are you okay with having the power and the responsibility around money? Is that important to you in your business and your journey now? So do share, those stories with us, or any questions around this as well for us, because we're doing this, as Anna said, to remind ourselves that we are full of ourselves. We are these incredible, extraordinary women, and also that we support each other. We're here to support and to create a conversation as well. It feels really important. So there might be some of those things that we've mentioned that you might want to go away and go, oh, do you know what? Actually, I don't feel that comfortable with that, or I don't have those conversations with my girlfriends. It might be as simple as you gather a few of your girlfriends on Friday night and get the crisps and bottle of fizz or something and go, let's talk about money. Let's have these really open conversations around money. Especially if you've not done that, it can be, wow, you probably feel so empowered when you do those conversations and, put that on the table and go, yeah, no more hiding, no more like pretending around this. We want to look money in the eye, so to speak.
Yeah. I heard of this great exercise to do actually about imagining that you're sitting opposite money in a restaurant and like just looking at them and like where is money? Are they close to you? Are they far away? What does that relationship feel like? Does it feel like an old friend sitting opposite you? Does it feel like a stranger? Like sometimes it's just playing around with those things because I think it can be difficult for us sometimes to access exactly what our feelings are. I think our behavior shows it a little bit, but sometimes if we've not really kind of investigated it and thought a little bit about it, I think
Mm.
that can be really difficult. And I love the idea of properly having conversations with other
Mm.
women about it. And I also, for me, I love to journal. So, you could be thinking about kinds of questions of like, well, how do I feel about money? What does
Yeah.
money mean for me? Why do I want more money? And what were the money stories in my childhood? And it's just starting to just ask yourself those questions, probably over a few days as well. It might not be in
Mm.
one go, because remember when all of these things are in so far back, and they're really deeply rooted, we
Mm.
know we can make changes to them, but that can sometimes be a little incremental change at a time. And so just starting off with that by just investigating for yourself
Mm.
what is coming up for you when you think about money, what is happening. And that could be, as you said, in conversation with people, it could be writing it down in your journal, it could be a little bit of both. But
Mm.
it is an important one. And I think particularly we can, when we talk about selling, we'll get into this, but we can really block ourselves
Mm.
from receiving what we should be receiving, I think. We talk a little bit about this because of things that maybe we're not even consciously aware of, things that have happened such a long time ago that they're just ingrained in there in terms of who we are and our behavior and all of
Yeah.
that. So I think, you know, go gently, be kind to yourself. But I think if you feel called to do it, I would really give yourself that opportunity to investigate what that means for you.
Investigate. I like what you did there.
Mm.
Investigate. Yeah, see?
I didn't
Yeah.
do that on
See?
purpose, but I'll take it.
There's one other thing as well, which has come to me around this. And again, a very simple level, just as ideas. I love all of that. I love the idea of building the relationship. I'm actually want to go out for dinner with money. I'm thinking where money will take me for dinner. See, already I'm like, money is going to take me on a date. So where are we going? Um, Even something simple like, do
Love
you
it.
know what's in your account? Do you know how much comes in and out each month? Can you even look at money? Never mind sit across the table. Are you even able to look at the money that is coming in and out, that currency, that flow in your everyday life? It could be you even just start there, not making judgments. We're being very kind with all this, but
Yeah.
just kind of noticing, no, I don't. I'm completely and utterly like in denial, and I just kind of will get by as I get by, and I have no idea. So I think we want to kind of leave you with this sense of, if you are building a relationship with money, because we talk about this and we talk about this with each other when we're coaching each other as well. you know, you're in a relationship with your business, you're in a relationship with everything, ourself fundamentally, but then every single thing. So we're in a relationship with money. What is that relationship? And then maybe what kind of relationship would you like to have? Really? What would be your dream relationship? And kind of find like a middle ground, like, something that feels like it's possible. Because we want to work in that space of possibility, that place where you're becoming, so that it feels like it's going to stretch you in a way that's actually realistic, you know. So let's start there.
Mm. Oh, I love that. I've loved this conversation.
Me too.
And as you mentioned, we'd love to hear more about what your thoughts are and what's come up for you. So do get in touch to let us know about that.
Yep. Yes. And tune in for our next episode coming very soon. And we hope you enjoyed this. And thank you for your time and attention and your ears. And we will see you again. Bye.